This will be the cheapest Disney World trip ever. I am in Orlando right now for a work conference. That paid for the expenses of the travel and the lodging. All I had to do was buy a ticket to the park, and I can get in for that price. Now, of course, there's a little bit of transportation I'll have to pay, but basically, I have, between now and when the conference starts, and the last day, when the conference ends at noon, to spend less than a total of 24 hours in the Magic Kingdom, the magical place on Earth, the Disney World. Here we go. Now I just gotta get in the park. Now going into this, the question that was on my mind is it worth it to go to Disney World by yourself? I've been to Disneyland before, but it's always a shared experience, and I didn't know if I would be able to have as much fun without someone to share that with, you know, waiting in long lines and stuff. So I got there and I was ready to have some fun, do this as much as I could. I was already the afternoon. I hadn't had lunch yet, so I went to Rosie's Diner to get a hamburger and some fries, and it was delicious. The line was a little long, but not too bad, and it was definitely worth it. And then I was ready to find my first ride. So the closest one, the one that I saw right away, was Mickey's and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So I got in line for that. And honestly, at first I was like, uh-oh, this is a 75-minute wait, and I'm by myself. I was starting to doubt if this was worth my time. And then we got to this cool part where you're still not in the line. You got to watch like this little Minnie and Mickey show here. So that made the wait experience a little more fun. And I didn't get a video of it, but by the time that short ended, the train explodes and the wall opens up and you get to walk through the wall. There's some cool engineering there, pretty engaging. Then we got on the ride, and this thing like is a trackless cart, so it can move forward and back and side to side. And you've got the audio animatronics, you have the animations on the screen. It was very immersive, I felt like I was in a cartoon, in a Disney cartoon. Here in this room, the rides, they kind of move side to side, forward and back, and that was very interesting. Like you were dancing kind of. Anyway, I got off that ride and I was ready for something quick. So right next door was this Muppets 3D. I got in line, didn't take very long to get in. And honestly, this was a pretty funny show. Funnier than I expected it would be, and not a long wait. So a good in-between ride. Then we went straight to, oh man, this place was cool, Star Wars Land. It really feels unique, the way they've got this designed and the architecture and stuff. I didn't wait long before I rushed into this line for the Rise of the Resistance. And I'm glad I did, because right when I got in line, like 20 people piled in after me. Would have made my wait a lot longer. This was another long wait. And again, I started second guessing myself, like, man, what? I'm spending how much money to wait in lines here? But the good news is, by the time, I think it was maybe 2 hours, I don't remember for sure. But again, these new rides, the wait experience gets much more interesting than older rides. You're not just standing in a well-decorated line. I mean, you are at first, but as you get closer, there's more and more props and things like that. And then there was this one point where you're breaking into the Rebel base, or not the Rebel base, I guess the Empire. And you get to like walk through, see these different set pieces. Then you go through this big landing pad, basically, where the spaceships come in. And you see a bunch of stormtroopers. You kind of get to walk through there. You could wait, take your time and look at it, but then you lose your spot in line, because at this point you're still in the queue. But then you got this engaging little hologram thing. You got a little bit of a presentation that happens here with some video. And again, you're still in the line. This isn't in the ride yet, but it's much more entertaining. Eventually you get on this little ship that they see this thing into this, and people go in this because you're in the line, and I don't know how it moves, but as they put these screens on and like they're talking, it's like a little TV show, somehow it moves, even though I didn't feel it move. And then you get out on this other side, I guess, or something, and here this is the stormtrooper space. You just kind of get to enjoy it all, take in the view as you continue towards the ride. Oh man, this was so cool. This was pretty cool. So just look at that. So I would say they're really getting good at making the queue experience much better. Here again, they put you into this like little prison cell. You're like the prisoners of the bad guys here, And finally, they break you out of prison, some of the cast members, like the wall opens up and you get on the ride. And here it is, another trackless ride where it can move all sorts of directions and you go through this set, the big, what are those, AT-ATs or something like that. Anyway, such a cool ride, a lot of special effects, explosions, very, very immersive and engaging. And then after that, I just kind of wandered around Star Wars Land for a while to look at all this cool architecture, to hear the music, to see the little robots they have hiding different places. I didn't engage much with the shops or the robots. I think if you have like an app or a watch, you can like scan some of these spots and do interesting things. I didn't do that, but I still had fun walking around, seeing all this stuff. It's starting to get dark. So at this point, I had only gone really on those 3 rides. One was not even a ride, it was the Muppets 3D Vision, and 2 of them had really long wait times. So, you know, I was, it's crazy. It's a long wait time, and when you're by yourself, it is kind of a boring wait. But these new rides were so worth it, so engaging, so interesting that by the time I got off the ride, I was like, yes, this is so worth it. Definitely a win. And so it's funny because I didn't even have the whole day. I only had from afternoon onwards. Didn't go on a lot of rides. I still think it was worth it. You know, if you have a little bit of extra income and you're going to be in Orlando for a work conference, coincidentally, if that happens to be the case, they do actually have a lot of conferences there, but I know this is not a very common thing. I mean, not everyone has this opportunity. But the biggest expense really is the flight and then the lodging. But whereas my work had paid for that, you know, kind of a no-brainer. Even with the little I was able to do in Hollywood Studios this day, I'm glad I did it. Definitely worth it. Okay, after going through Star Wars Land, then I went to Pixar Land, or I don't know what it was, Toy Story Land. There wasn't a lot to do there. I got a root beer float and didn't really love it, honestly. The Barks root beer is not a good brand of root beer. I don't like it. Get A&W root beer floats, much better. I was going to go to Fantasmic. I heard it's a great show, but right when I got there, they closed it off because it was a full show. What I should have done is go on Hollywood Tower of Terror. I regret not doing that. Instead, I waited in line for this little show. There was like 3 other people there. Nobody wanted to see this at this point in time. Other things are going on. And honestly, it was kind of a new film, but it was stitched together with old clips from the cartoon, which I had seen most of them, so it wasn't really new. But at this point, I didn't say this, but I had purchased Lightning Lane. I just didn't purchase it and use it well and a good time because I was only able to get this one Lightning Lane late in the day to Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run. I was the engineer. I had to push these buttons while the spaceship flew around. You got the screen that looks like you're moving, but the whole room kind of like jostles and tilts and goes up and down. So it does feel like you're flying. I would say definitely a cool ride. Was it as cool as the Rise of Resistance? It's a close call. I don't know. I think Rise of Resistance maybe was a little more entertaining, but honestly, they were both super fun rides. So I would recommend both of them, especially if you have a Lightning Lane. Waiting in line, well, it is what it is. But yeah, these 2 I think are worth it. So I got off the ride, and at this point, I was just kind of tired. So I didn't even, on the way out, I listened to like the show that they were doing in the town square, projections on the screen of the movies, Disney movies. I don't know if you've seen it or heard of it, but I didn't watch much of it. I just was really tired. I got an Uber home, walked to my hotel, and that was day 1.